Welcome into the Cowboys Report. I am Tom Downey, producer Chris Daughtry, behind the scenes for today's live show. We will discuss all the latest on America's team, including the news of the Week 1 and the first game of the 2025 NFL season. The opponent is the Philadelphia Eagles. The Cowboys once again playing in that opening night kickoff game. Who you got? C for the Cowboys, E for the Eagles. Let me know in the comment section of today's show, C or E. It is the pinned poll as well on today's show. 89% going in favor of the Cowboys. We'll do schedule prediction Thursday after the schedule release and breakdown of that drops on Wednesday night. I appreciate the optimism. How about that? I appreciate the optimism. I'm glad that there's some positivity back around the team, because if we had asked this exact same question this time last year, probably wouldn't have been 88%. Get those votes in. C for the Cowboys, E for the Eagles. I think the defending champs are 15-5 the last 20 years on opening night. But then again, they are the defending champs, so that certainly makes some sense. So get those votes in. C for the Cowboys, E for the Eagles. Who you got? Let me know in the comments of today's show with some super chats coming through. Mighty Ant 0215. It's in the Cowboys channel. We're trying to trade for DJ Reader. Any truth to that? What about Tyler Shuck starting? Carr retired. So first notes, I don't think it was even presented as they're trying to trade for DJ Reader. I think that was more of like, wouldn't it be cool if they traded for DJ Reader? Which I agree with. We'll discuss that tomorrow, by the way, a little bit more in depth on that. But wanted to deal with more of the new stuff today. So they're not actively trying to trade for DJ Reader. It has been a suggested idea, which I actually appreciate. I think you can go back to pre-kid me has been asking to sign DJ Reader, so been a long time target for me. So I'd have interest there. I just don't know how realistic it actually is. As for Shuck starting, I think he starts. I think he can be like the 25th best QB in the NFL year one. That still might put the Saints draft in top 3 again next year. Busta T, who also has a super thanks to get to during the mailbag. Both Mighty Ant and Busta T have super thanks there. He wants to know, should the Cowboys go after Trey Hendrickson? Do you think the Dallas Cowboys are going to pay Hendrickson $30 to $35 million per year? I don't think so. Hendrickson wants to get paid now. That's the whole point. Dallas is not going to pay him right now. Frankly, nor should they, given their own upcoming massive contract figured to Micah Parsons. I don't think Trey would really be on board with, 1 year and then go hit free agency, because he's a year older then, and the money might not be as good. So I don't think they're going to go after any big-name pass rusher, barring just a rash of injuries. Samuel, we got to see the camps in preseason first. I'm inclined to agree. I think maybe more training camp, which normally just ends up being hype and positivity, because I don't know how many of these starters are going to end up playing in the preseason again, which, they haven't actually started that slow lately. At least not in week 1, but there really isn't a massive statistical difference necessarily either. But I think camps, there's still a lot of uncertainty around this team. It's first time head coach who hasn't called the plays in several years, and never for this team. I think that's actually a huge question mark. The super chat menu on today's show, $5 Venmo gets you into the Micah decision pool. Shout out Nick D for his Venmo that came in like 10 minutes before the live show began. So we are now at $17.50 on the Venmo 50-50 split the pot. Just Venmo me at whatgoingdown, $5 with your prediction of the date Micah signs. There's really just a couple days a month that are left out there. $10 baby name submissions are available. You text me or send $10 on the super chat side. I will text my wife, and we will. I'll read her response on air to whatever the baby name suggestion is. $20. I think maybe the last week I do this of the Beaned Boozled, which I'm not looking forward to because that might be disgusting. $50 for a beer bong, by the way, as well. Lucid, would you re-sign Carl Lawson or Linval Joseph? Again, I don't really think you need to have a lot of edge help. I think you're in good shape there. Linval Joseph, maybe. I question if he's actually an upgrade over what you have, and he probably wants to wait until late July, August. I think Lawson might be a better player, but I've got too many others as it is. Like, I actually don't need another edge. Injuries happen. He's high on my list, but right now, probably not. Jacob, I'm the only one who thinks we need linebacker help. I get where you're coming from. I think the Cowboys' answer would be, we've added multiple linebackers this offseason. They've added 3 guys in Kenneth Murray, Jack Sanborn, Shamar James. They bring back guys who played a lot last 2 years in some capacity. Not every year, but Damone Clark, Maurice Leafau, Overshone will be healthy. I think you need a top-end linebacker would be great. Those aren't really available right now. I think the numbers, the quantity is probably in good enough shape, though, right now. Ecuador, man, who of our Cowboys beat, besides Giants, who of our Cowboys beat week 1? Well, of note, of your last 10 week 1 games, half of them have been against the Giants. So we're already really cutting down the pool there as it is. The other one were the Browns, which last year you beat them in week 1. You've had a couple tough losses, like the Bucs lost the first time down to the wire, and then they robbed us of a win over the Rams. You remember that game, Chris, with the Michael Gallup offensive pass interference penalty when Jalen Ramsey is holding his arm when they called it on Gallup? Yeah, I remember that play. They finally moved the ball on offense finally in that game. So last 2 years, they've put up 40 and 33 points. Those were bad teams, Giants and Browns. Eagles are not a bad team. All right, I want you guys to predict the Cowboys' record this year. Let me know in the comments section of today's show what you think the Cowboys' regular season record will end up being. We will discuss that. Full in-depth predictions on my end after the season wraps up, or after the schedule is fully announced and released, because otherwise it's just kind of weird to try to do it right now otherwise. So we'll go game by game, I mean. But right now we know the teams they're playing. And I think 10, 11 wins is probably where this team ends up slotting in at. I see 12-5, 11-6, 12-5, 13-4, 10-7, 16-1, 12-5, 10-7, 11-6. Lance Dunbar's bold prediction, undefeated against the division. That would be interesting. 14-3, 12-5, 10-7, 14-3, 11-6, 14-3, 8-8, which is funny because they can't. What is it? Clapper's back again? 9-8. There you go. Now we qualify there. 12-5, third place schedule, and it's not a normal third place schedule this year. It's a little bit more challenging than I think with some of your crossover games. Like you draw the NFC North, and that's like the best division in football. It just kind of sucks. 11-6, 12-5, 8-1. Which I hate ties. I'd be so pissed. You guys know how pissed I'd be if a tie actually happened to the Cowboys? I would just be yelling, like just nonstop. I haven't had to crash out in a while because the Cowboys were bad last year down the stretch. I didn't care if they lost. It didn't really matter that much in the end. I would crash out so bad if they tied. It'd be hilarious. Get those record predictions in for me in the comments of today's show. And with the schedule now set to be released on Wednesday, should we do the Madden Live Sims again this year? Y for yes, N for no. Had several questions on it. Obviously, not everyone is going to get or wants it, but I know a lot of you guys do. So let me know. Y for yes, N for no. What should we do those Madden Sims again this year? Steven, Ecuador Man, London, Jalen, JHC, Lone Wolf, YouTube J, Scotty McRyan. I see a lot of yeses in there. A lot of yeses in there. Keep the comments coming. William Cook, a $5 super chat. What would indicate on a day-to-day basis that Shoddy is a better coach than McCarthy? Predicts 11-6. It's a good question. I think it'd be a little bit tough to tell, like instantaneously. I think, especially with the head coaching side and the expectations, I think there's a couple things that I'm going to keep my eye out for. How do they start games? Big moments, big games especially. How do they come out? Do they come out flat as they've done? This is not just the McCarthy thing. It's kind of a Garrett thing too, frankly. Do they come out kind of flat there? Does this team, in those big moments, are they not as slow of starters? In general, how do the adjustments happen? And I think the opening script versus the non-opening script. We've seen it before. Cowboys do some fun stuff in the first 15 plays, and they never go back to it. Really? That's kind of a concern for me. And then I had something else in there too.
Clock management.
Clock management. That's an easy one. Can you not screw around with the clock? Shoddy's never done it before. He's also younger, and honestly, I think a good Madden player can manage the clock better. I'm convinced of that. They'd also be far more aggressive. Than that. One more thing I was thinking too. It was schedule starts. It was kind of the adjustment stuff. I had one more I was going to get to is the main thing, and I completely forgot what it is there. Penalties. Stop being the most penalized team in the NFL. How about that? One of the most penalized teams in the NFL. Chris Broussard's burner. Chris Broussard or Emmanuel Acho, who is worse? Broussard for the NBA and Acho for the NFL. How about that? Picking both of them in the end. There you go. Jacob, if we're going to go out and trade for their player, what side of the ball would make sense and who? It's a good question. I think the two spots on both sides of the ball. Defensive tackle, if I can find somebody. If I can find a good starter, or at least a good number 3 rotation piece, especially at nose guard. I'm a little bit worried about Mozzie Smith and the funky bunch of 7th-round picks. I'm not sure I particularly love that grouping there. And then running back, I think there's potential for guys to be available, potential for guys to be on the move closer to cut down time. That's an area I would monitor, especially as you get through training camp and you get a good look at okay, what do Javonte and Miles have left in the tank? Lucid, whose roster is better, the Cowboys or the Commanders? I don't know if they're that far apart right now. I think the receiver side is now flipped in favor of the Cowboys. I am curious to see how that Commanders offensive line works. Again, I think that's fairly decent. I think the running back is in favor of the Cowboys, or of the Commanders. I think Brian Robinson-Eckler combination is better for year 1. It might be different in year 2 with Blue. I'm inclined to give it to Jaden Daniels, but I've made this point before. I'm going to make it again. We probably shouldn't anoint players too quickly. C.J. Stroud last year anointed as guaranteed top 5 QB. Then he wasn't. Wasn't all his fault, but that's how football actually often works out there. I think the defensive line, especially on the interior, favors the Commanders. Edges favor Dallas. I think the linebackers favor the Commanders. If healthy, well, I guess that's kind of an issue for Dallas too. I was going to say if healthy, the Commanders, I do like that cornerback room a lot. But if healthy, week 17 Cowboys, week 1 probably the Commanders. Safety room kind of feels like half a dozen of ones. I don't think they're actually that far apart. That's kind of why I think I'm surprised over the sheer volume of difference between Commanders and Cowboys win totals. But Commanders are very much riding an upward arc right now. Ethan says Pride 12-5. We'll end up losing to a team we should beat. Love the pick and straight, though. That happened. I do want to make this point, too, by the way, because correctly every year we get mad when the Cowboys lose the team they are supposed to beat. That happens every year to every team. Outside of the 17-0, the 16-0 seasons, happens to every team where they lose to that team that they weren't supposed to lose to. It's the classic letdown game. Upsets happen. It's a little bit frustrating how often we can correctly predict when it's going to happen for the Cowboys. For example, if we beat the Eagles week 1, we're going to lose week 2. It's just going to happen. Or maybe week 3 if they have another tough schedule tonight. That's, it's often Denver for some reason the Cowboys have that letdown game, but Denver's actually pretty good this year. So I would not be surprised if that ends up being the case too. If you are ready for us to start today's live show, help us out. Like the video for me right now, please, and thank you. Appreciate that if you can make that happen for us. Like the video if you haven't already. Coming up live, we'll discuss really more some Cowboys news. There's some breakout potential buzz candidates for players, but really week 1 schedule for the Cowboys at least. First game of the season has been revealed. Cowboys taking on Philadelphia there. We'll run through some Cowboys trade candidates as well. And a mailbag. 2 ways to get in on the show. Use hashtag Cowboys or Super Chat as so many of you have done already. And we'll run through the depth charts as well. One time for the Cowboys. All come live here on the Cowboys Report. The Cowboys are visiting the Philadelphia Eagles to open up the 2025 NFL season. It is the first game of the new year, and it is Dallas at Philly. Who you got winning that one for me? Then we'll break this down more in depth. C for the Cowboys, E for the Eagles. This was the first formal official announcement as it relates to who is going to play on the Thursday night kickoff special. It is the Cowboys at Philadelphia. It is another game in which the Cowboys have played on the road to open up the season. They did against the Bucs a couple years ago. Early lines already available for that 8:20 p.m. Eastern time kick out in Philly. 7-point favorites. The Eagles open up at the over-under set at 46.5. That is a sizable spread advantage in favor of Philadelphia, which the Cowboys are kind of a top 12 pick. The Eagles won the Super Bowl. I think that kind of makes some sense. Two elements that kind of sound here. Number one, by the way, at least you don't have to go to Philadelphia in December. So if you want neutral game weather advantage, actually probably work for both sides, frankly. I think that is something worth mentioning there. And, knock on wood, we actually get the Dak versus Jalen Hurts quarterback matchup. Dak in his games against the Eagles when starting is 9-4. Of note, one of those games was he threw like 4 passes or eight passes and like they played a drive and a half and then called it and pulled him because the game was over. It was a inconsequential game. So it's really more like 9-3. Hurts is 4-3, but one of those he threw like 1 pass. So like, yeah, he's really more like 3-3. But these two have only played each other as the starters 3 times. That's it. Even though we've got potential 10 games a year plus wildcard stuff, right? 2020, Dak missed both those games. 2021, Dak went 1-0. Hurts missed the other one. 2022, Dak and Hurts both missed a game. So they didn't play each other, which is kind of funny. They split in 2023. And of course, then Dak missed both these games this year. So for the first time in over a year, and for just the 4th time ever, in theory, knock on wood, it's actually going to be the Cowboys and Eagles have their quarterbacks healthy and starting. That hasn't happened a lot with these particular 2 QBs who have emerged as some of the better ones in the NFL. So who do you think is the better QB? DP for Dak Prescott, JH for Jalen Hurts. The ad comes here on YouTube. Take advantage of it. Head down there and let me know. Sure, those comments won't be divisive at all. Turpin's role is what I want to discuss next year. Landon Holifield, I think that's how you pronounce your name there. Sorry, Landon. Over at Athlon. Had, I think, a pretty good look at what could they do with KaVontae Turpin this upcoming year? I think there's a couple elements the Cowboys hopefully figured out last year. One of which was they did have some success putting Turpin in the backfield. And I don't think he has the frame at all, frankly, to hold up as a every down player and be an actual running back. He is extremely undersized. Even for NFL players, even for the small NFL players, he's listed at 5'9", is actually a bit less than 5'9", 153. You can't give him the ball a dozen times on carries. The body will not withstand. I think you can find ways, though, to get him a little bit more than a carry, 8 catch and a half through the air. This is what Brian Schottenheimer said, by the way, earlier this offseason on Turpin. I think he's a dynamic weapon. I can't separate the growth and the understanding of the football scheme over the last few years. The game-changing plays he's made for us, dynamic weapon. There's really nothing he can't do. We're moving him in positions that 2 years ago we would think, I don't know if that would work out. Incredible talent, but it's awesome to see him maturing as a football player. I think weapon is a good term for someone like KaVontae Turpin. It's not just receiver or slot or return guy. When the ball is in his hands, he's shown some very good stuff. I think he's also more of a specialized weapon, or just weapon in general. You have to know how to use him properly. You should probably have some training for how to use this. Otherwise, bad things can happen or unideal things can happen. We'll come back to that more in depth here in just a second, but the Tyler Booker rookie jerseys and 2025 NFL draft gear for the Cowboys is available. Chatsports.com/Cowboys draft. It includes the hats, by the way, as well, and even a hoodie that they dropped this year for the brand. Links in the comment section and the description of today's show. It's chatsports.com/Cowboys Draft. As it relates to Turpin, I would prefer fewer designed deep shots. I don't think those work. I don't think throwing it up to your 5'7.5", 153-pound receiver on vertical downfield threats, especially when it's up on the outside, is a good idea. If you think you can catch him off guard on a slot fade, sure. I would like to get him going on some crossers. I'm always a little bit frustrated with how little this team actually runs mesh. They ran it a little bit more in the red zone last year. The Tolbert touchdown, for example, was a mesh concept. Like, why can't you just let those two? Why can't you let him go underneath and run mesh and use his speed there? The Cowboys did unlock something with him in the ground game. I am curious how much that gets deployed. I would love to see more motion in general with the offense. I think that is an additive feature. And I think if you're using Turpin as the motion player, that does demand attention from the defense. When you're using Jalen Brooks as the motion player, I don't think teams really care about that. I think that motion for the sake of motion is not good. It's not bad, but it doesn't actually add anything to you. So when you can use good motion with Turpin, others, I think Lamb fits that category. I'm not sure who else on the roster receiver fits that group, by the way. Use it more. And we also know he's that dynamic return. I think even more than anything else for Turpin this upcoming season, these kickoff rule changes, I think significantly benefit him. We mentioned that on a video earlier in the offseason, how they're going to try to force more actual returns from teams, not to kick it off into the end zone. That's going to get more chances for Turpin to get the ball in his hands. If the kick returns go from 1.5 per game to 2.5, it's actually extremely valuable then. So predictions. How many touchdowns does KaVontae Turpin end up scoring this year for the Cowboys? Let me know in the comments section of today's show. I also want to mention a potential Cooper Beebe breakout here. PFF, Pro Football Focus, naming Beebe as the top breakout candidate for the Cowboys after the NFL draft, as he now gets to be bookended by the Tylers with Smith and Booker alongside of him. Beebe last year, overall, I thought showed some good stuff. 3 sacks, 5 hits, 10 hurries. The run blocking grade was solid. Only 3 penalties. I think one thing to monitor, and this is, before I get to this, I am cherry picking. Let me acknowledge right now, I am cherry picking when to do the cutoff here. But the first 9 games for Cooper Beebe in 2024 versus the final 7 games. 3 sacks allowed versus 0. 5 hits allowed versus 0. 6 hurries versus 4. The run blocking grade individual games, because I don't have the ability to filter it. 82.4 versus 74.9, and 2 of those 7 games were higher run blocking grades from Beebe than his high in the previous 9. 0 penalties to 3. He clearly was a better football player as the year went on. They also kind of tweaked the offense to get the ball out as soon as humanly possible, so the sacks and hits and hurries should have gone down in general, but I do think in the offensive line, and Beebe as a key factor in that, did play better as the year went along. Another year of development should only benefit Cooper Beebe. This is very much arrow pointing upward for the Cowboys' young starting center. That interior of the offensive line, in a division chock full of talent on the interior of the defensive line, that interior O-line is going to have to be incredibly talented, play well, and they have invested the amount of assets into it to make that happen. Now, we'll have more Cowboys videos for you guys all off-season long. We will have, by the way, as well, the schedule release for you guys Wednesday evening. I think it's 2 years in a row, maybe 3 actually, I'm not sure. That Cowboys schedule has leaked early, and we've been able to get to it for you guys. So make sure those notifications are turned on. Don't miss out. We'll break down the schedule release once that happens. The next metric milestone, by the way, 1,600. Here on the Cowboys Report, we're 732 subs away. Don't miss out. Hit that sub button for me right now. All right, Cowboys record prediction with our game-by-game prediction coming up here on Thursday after the NFL announces the full schedule on that one there. Get those predictions in. I'm going to sip some water here as well. Lucid, Okay, we're good. That's just. We'll talk about Tyler Smith having a new agent tomorrow as well. It's Todd France. Good job, guys. We actually got to that one earlier. Ethan. We got to Ethan's as well, though. So there we go. That lucid. Who will have more sacks, Mike or Donovan? I think it's like minus 400, if not more. It's Micah Parsons, and that's just like he got hurt, so the injuries fell. Micah. Jimmy, who do you think we play on Thanksgiving? I mean, they've kind of gone a little heavy for my liking on the division opponents. So I'm going to go with, I'm not going to do the Chiefs because they'll probably play on Christmas this year. Jets. You know who I don't want? The Raiders. I don't want Las Vegas on Thanksgiving because of my trauma from the last time those two teams played. I could see Bears going back down that path. I'm curious how the NFL plays it because they've often done like big market teams for these games. I don't know if they have to. Like, I wonder if Bears Cowboys ends up being a Thursday night game, or like the Thursday night game, it's a road game, so it actually wouldn't make sense. And Bears on the road too. So scratch what I said there. It's definitely not going to be Chicago, and the Jets are a road game too. So I am stupid. So the options are Chargers, Chiefs, Cardinals, Vikings, Packers, Commanders, Eagles, Giants. Might be Chargers this year. Might be Chargers. So, because I feel like the Chiefs will end up. They're not going to play. That's a home game, so I don't think it's the Chiefs. Because the Chiefs, I think, played on Christmas Day last year. They probably get to play again this year, would be my guess. But they're on the road, so we'll see. It could also just be the Packers again. I'd be so pissed. All right, Mighty Anto 215. Can't wait to see Booker make Carter hate playing football. That is what he said he wants to do. That is how he said he wants to do it. He wants to make people stop loving the game. Great combine clip, by the way, which you posted on the channel. So we'll see. I would appreciate it if the Cowboys, the interior O-line plays the way up to their potential. Might not happen week 1, but hopefully. All right, the Super Chat menu on today's show. $5 Venmo at What Going Downey will get you into the Micah decision pool. Closest prediction on when Micah signs, or I guess gets traded, wins the pool on that front. So we'll do a 50-50 split the pot on that. $10 baby name submissions. $20 for the Bean Boozled. And $50 for a beer bong. Coming up on today's show, we're going to some of the top Cowboys trade candidates. After the draft, before we get really deep into the training camp and the preseason, I am focused on players the Cowboys could actually trade. That eliminates several notable names, by the way. And I want to focus on those who actually have value. Like, yeah, cool, let's trade away Jalen Cropper. No one's going to be mad about it. No one's trading for him either. So let's begin with kind of the elephant in the room, and that's the superstar edge rusher, Micah Parsons. I know there is a segment of the fan base that wants to trade him away. I don't think that happens. I don't think either side involved, any side involved, when it like split it down between Micah and his agent and the Cowboys and different factions within the Cowboys, I don't think there's anyone that really wants him gone. I don't think either side wants that. Now, I do fully anticipate the regular Cowboys contractual nonsense of just, for whatever reason, sometimes different reasons, they just don't get that deal done with the urgency and the timing that I know a lot of us want it to. So as a reminder, we are doing the Micah decision pool. You pick the date, Micah gets signed, or I guess traded, whatever the finality is there. You can visit chatsports.com/Micah to see the entries, and it'll redirect you to a Google sheet that has it, but that's a lot easier than trying to link the Google Sheet URL. It makes no sense. Venmo me at What Going Downey, $5 to get in on that, and we'll do a 50-50 split the pot for the winner. As of filming, $17.50 is the take-home right now. So let's talk the real trade candidates then. Let's stick in that pass rushing room. How about Sam Williams? Now, there's complications here. Make no mistakes about that. The investments that have been placed at that room could put Williams on the outside looking in. I thought he kind of wasn't as good in 2023 as he was in 2022. And what was hopefully going to be a, year 3 breakout for Sam Williams never happened this past season. And now they've kind of stacked players on top of him. Obviously Micah, They signed Dante Fowler to a 1-year deal. They drafted Donovan Ezeraku and Marshawn Nealon in back-to-back years in round 2 after already spending a second themselves on Sam Williams. Now, for all of these players, we'll mention the contractual impacts here. It's not actually that expensive. The cap hit for the Cowboys right now is about $1.98 million. The new team would owe $1.55, and that's about your savings as well. That's the cash you're saving if you were to trade away Sam Williams. The problem is he's coming off a torn ACL. I would wonder if, depending on when he's back and healthy, which I think is going to be in time for camp, I'm not actually too concerned about that one, you could see him, if he has a great camp and flashes a lot in the preseason, maybe it seemed like the Commanders could come through and offer you something in terms of it's probably going to be a day 3 pick at best, and that is emphasis on the at best. So what would you do with Sam Williams? T for trade him. K for you're going to keep him, give him 1 more year, and keep that stable of edge rushers stacked and not get too thin. T for trade, K for keep. Go vote at the pinned comment of today's show if the ad comes here on YouTube. Jalen Tolbert is next up here. And again, yeah, cool, trade away Mingo. Who wants Jonathan Mingo? Does anyone actually want him? I don't think so. Tolbert has gotten better each season of his NFL career. Now, the bar was pretty low the first 2 years. Can you beat 12 yards? Can you beat 268? Now it's 6'10". And he was actually, I think it was the Sleeper Cowboys account, put out a very accurate meme. No one wanted him as the receiver 2. That's not great. Receiver 3? Okay. Kind of intrigued by that one. Plus Turpin, plus Mingo, Flanoy, Brooks. You can't actually roster, barring injuries, all of those wide receivers. The cap hit for the Cowboys, pretty meager, $3.63 million. Miami Brown got 10, so, it's not a lot of money there. The new team would owe 3.41. I would argue, though, in the end, because you're also still an injury away from being in a bad spot, potentially, especially if you trade away Tolbert in this scenario, that you're better off keeping Tolbert for 1 more year, potentially getting a comp pick next year, by the way, for him, unless someone like a Mingo really balls out in camp in the preseason, and you're kind of moving Tolbert to free up snaps for other players. That's the scenario in which I would do it, not because you added Pickens. At that point, I would keep him as my number 3. Now, speaking of George Pickens, you can pre-order his jersey at chatsports.com/Pickens. It's all through Fanatics, by the way. It says 0. You can pre-order it. It will ship you the finalized jersey number. So you don't actually have to wait. It'll just be like, hey, this is in pre-order phase, and once the number's finalized, we'll ship one out to you. So chatsports.com/Pickens for that. I think everyone who's watched the show knew I was going to put this name on here, and that's Damone Clark, the linebacker. He's fallen out of favor in a way kind of with multiple regimes now. The Cowboys stopped playing him last year. He played a lot in 2023 because of other injuries, but it's for me, my issue, I think it's the Cowboys' issue too. Instincts still aren't there. Maybe that changes this season. And the lack of splash plays aren't there. DeMarvion Overshown is probably not going to be healthy for week 1. In fact, he's not going to be healthy for week 1. But the Cowboys went out and added Kenneth Murray. They added Jack Sanborn. They bring back Maurice Leofau. They added Shamar James. I would bet that there's a chance all 4 of those guys are actually ahead of Damone Clark in terms of the here's who we're going to play next, given there is, especially in the modern NFL, plenty of positional flexibility beyond Mike and weak side and Will and strong side. It's just they can kind of play all those spots. I think there's a scenario in which Damone Clark gets out of camp and he's, linebacker 4, with Overshow coming back to be linebacker 5 at that point, and special teams impacts like Justin Barron and Buddy Johnson possibly being ahead of him. Now, the money is maybe the biggest issue here. $3.47 million for Damone Clark, $3.41 for the new team. Again, that's kind of the Cowboys' savings. I think he's clearly on the roster bubble. I don't know if the Cowboys can find a taker at that cap hit. And I wonder if this could be one of those preventative contract restructures where the Cowboys say, Damone, we want to keep you, but not at 3.47. Can we bump you down to 1.5 and guarantee it and keep you around? That, I think, actually could be in play, too. So name a player who you want to trade. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Let's mention both safeties here. Donovan Wilson and Malik Hooker. I don't really think the level of additions to this room make it all that likely, but there are savings here. I think there is even value from other teams if the money can be worked out, which, again, that's always an issue, right? Wilson, when he is on, the Cowboys win. When he is on, the Cowboys have a tendency to win games because when that level of role player ends up making an impact, it normally means really good things. When he is off, when he struggles, when he does not play well, it becomes a bit more glaring. The George Kittle game, he struggled a lot against tight ends last year. That's kind of a huge issue for me. Malik Hooker, I think, was less inconsistent, but also a little bit less splashy. And that isn't what I want more impact plays out of Malik Hooker so far. Even though he's been both those guys overall have been good players. They're not great players. Cowboys are a little bit thin. Obviously, Marquise Bell is there. Wani Thomas are back. Those guys are going to make the team. Elijah Clark, Zion Childress, Mike Smith, I think face kind of tough paths to make the roster, at least as starters. Do you want to hurt your depth significantly? I'm not so sure. Money's also a factor here. Donovan Wilson's going to make $8.65 million from the Cowboys on the cap this year. The new team would owe $7 million. Again, it's about the Dallas Cowboys savings there. It's a lot. Hooker's actually cheaper. Phrasing. 7.75, 5.75. I think that the contracts involved here and the lack of clear-cut impact additions so far here probably mean both these guys stick around. But it might only be for a season. It might only be for a year in which we sit down this time next year and one at most of these guys is still around. Who is the better safety? DW for Donovan Wilson, MH for Malik Hooker. Let me know in the comments of today's show. Finally, it's TJ Bass. And if you had asked me this, a month ago, I said no, I want to keep him as an option for me. It actually might be time now. Here are the numbers. Both 2024 and 2023. Better run blocker this year. Actually a little bit worse in pass protection. Penalties went up. We have seen TJ Bass be a starter in the NFL. I don't think he's a high-end starter. I think he's probably more of your offensive lineman 6 or 7 at most in an ideal scenario. But there's a lot of unideal scenarios across the NFL. The Cowboys have Brock Hoffman as a top backup with the obvious starting 5 as shown. Robert Jones, they paid a decent amount of money to. So that's your top 7. 2 interior guys. Take your pick of Richards or Ajani Cornelius. Nathan Thomas can play guard or tackle. Bass is kind of an interior guy only. If you can get a mid-ish day 3 pick with a team going TJ Bass can start for us, that's kind of noteworthy to me. And he's super cheap. There's no signing bonus money there. So with Tyler Booker now in place as the starting right guard for the Cowboys, Brock Hoffman now back to being the top interior swing player, plus Robert Jones is a guard option. In terms of maybe actually being able to get something back, if it is just a day 3 pick or something, I think TJ Bass might be your number one, realistic, still get you something at all trade option for the Dallas Cowboys. Look, when the Cowboys make moves, we will make videos for you. We'll see if a trade happens or not, but it's always, always a good topic of conversation. Don't miss out. Hit that sub button right now. Mailbag time here on the Cowboys Report. 2 ways to get on the show. #Cowboys or Super Chat to skip the line. Had several of those in there already. #Cowboys or Super Chat to get on the show. If you don't use the #Cowboys, producer Chris cannot find your questions. Super Chat, though, guarantees you get on there. So let me get a sip of water here. Yes, Daniel, you're right. Jaden Blue has signed his deal with the Cowboys. It doesn't actually mean much. This is not like the olden days when you had contractual issues. It's a matter of when, not if. So, yeah, only one left is Donovan Ezaraku. These second rounders these days have, like, normally become the guys that take a little bit longer to get signed. So everyone else is done there. So get your questions in via hashtag Cowboys. Skip the line altogether via Super Chat. The Super Chat menu, by the way, $5 Venmo at What Going Downey gets into the Micah decision pool we're running, called a pool party. Closest to predicted 80 signs orchestrated wins the split the pot. $10 baby name submissions. I'll text my wife for baby name suggestions for kid number 2. It is a boy, by the way. $20 for the Bean Boozled. $50 for the Beer Bong as well. A super thanks to begin today's Cowboys mailbag. $2 from Mighty Ant. I think Pickens was a expletive deleted because it's early in the video. Don't want to get flagged for it. Because he had no good quarterback play. That was a factor. I think in general, immaturity has long been a concern for George Pickens. It dates back to his college days. Is this the right ecosystem for him? Fingers crossed, the upside makes it worthwhile as a gamble. Also, from Mighty Ants, I'm Cowboys Slice, but Tom, anything about the Saints now with no Derek Carr after retirement? Tyler Shuck, spelled wrong. That's how it's pronounced. It's Shough, pronounced Shuck. I don't know. Weird. I'm always concerned when players cannot pronounce their own name properly. Huge red flag. Only half kidding. I think he starts, but it's not. Like, I don't think he's gonna be very good. I think he's gonna be like an average at best QB. Like, I think he's gonna be more of a career backup type. Like, I think the Saints will probably be picking top 5 again next year. Not again, but picking top 5. Those came in via Super Thanks. Feature here on YouTube. Allows you to donate outside of live videos. Click that thanks icon, edit your message, whatever you send in, we will give you some love on the show. Karen, I'm going to pronounce it do good. So I'm going to pronounce it. Keep hearing about this breaking news, a new trade a few minutes ago, but I can't find out who it is. One of two things happened here for Karen. Number one, it was the old George Pickens trade news. Number two, there are a handful of, I don't even call them actual channels. It's like AI-generated nonsense in which they, pretend that news has happened and treat it as such. There's a handful of those channels out there that just, they straight up spread, breaking news, this trade happened, and it's, not at all factual. So that, you might have got by that one. Busta T, any hope for Breece Hall? I probably wouldn't get your hopes up. I understand why you have interest. I think he would help your running back room, becomes your RB1. I'm not mad at it at all. But I also kind of question, why would the Jets do that? The Jets are then going to run it with Isaiah Davis and Braylon Allen. That's when you're going to run the ball a lot with Justin Fields. I think that they're more inclined to keep him. Now, other stuff happens. Maybe Hall gets really disgruntled. That could be an issue. But I don't think they're going to just give him away in the end. I kind of think this team is done making the big splashy move, which I think Hall would fall in that category before camp. But what do you think? Why for yes and for no? Should the Cowboys make another trade before training camp? It's the pinned comment on today's show. The ad comes here on YouTube. Take advantage of it. Head down there and let me know. Lucid, what DT should we trade for? I think a realistic guy who might be available is Andrew Billings. I think I would look at the Bears roster with a new coaching staff in there. You're coming over from Matt Eberflus. He's got familiarity with those guys. Javon Dexter. They just brought in Shamar Turner. They brought in Grady Jarrett, Zach Pickens, Andrew Billings, Javon Dexter. One of those guys probably doesn't make their roster barring injuries, which does happen. In which case, hey, maybe one of those could be an option for you. I even going further down that depth chart, Chris Williams was a player that is familiar with Matt Eberflus. Those are not big names, but I think they're actually pretty affordable names, too. BRY Nation. I'm going to go with Bry Nation like Brian. Thanks. I want them to get rid of Dalvin Cook. There's a super thanks that came in, by the way. Good news, Dalvin Cook is not on your team. The players who were on the practice squad, they have to be re-signed to futures deals. Dalvin Cook was not re-signed. I think that I kind of question if he's ever going to get a shot again in the NFL. Because if he couldn't crack that running back room rotation, I don't know what running back room he's going to crack it there. So in general, with this current running back room for the Cowboys, I want honesty here. What is your confidence level in it? Javonte Williams, Miles Sanders, Jaden Blue, Phil Maffa, maybe some Deuce Vaughn still. Scale it for me from 1 to 10. 1 on the low end, 10 on the high end. Crimson Cowboy, any UFL players keep an eye on as possible additions, particularly at positions of need? Probably not, honestly. I think where you're going to continue to see the UFL guys get their cracks are the specialists. Like special teamers maybe, kickers, punters, return men. That's where the Cowboys found Aubrey and Turpin. But you need a defensive tackle. It's probably not going to come from the UFL ranks when almost all those guys just didn't do well the first time around. Food Review. Long time no see to graduate college. First up, congratulations, Food Review. What surprise extension is the most unsurprising? It's a good question. Honestly, I think the correct answer is Jake Ferguson. That is a player that I think is better with the quarterback in place, and I think he is most likely to take a team-friendly deal. That's my guess. Because, Tyler Smith ain't. Mike is not. I don't think Aubrey will. So I leave that to Ferguson, who the Cowboys may not want to extend, and maybe shouldn't want to extend either. But that one would be there's every year there's they signed Leo Collins and Jalen Smith before the Zeke one. That does happen for this team. Of look, he took less. The deal will get done. Wonder if Ferguson ends up being that guy. Love if it was Deron Bland. That'd be super fun. Now, you can get the Tyler Booker rookie jersey and more 2025 NFL draft gear over at chatsports.com/Cowboys Draft. Link will be in the comments section and the description of today's show. It'll showcase the rookie jerseys, hats, hoodies. There will also be a clickable link over there in the corner, chatsports.com/Cowboys Draft. JL Channel, Dak has a 9-4 record against them. They got Dallas by 7 in week 1. What's your thoughts on the Cowboys running back room? Blue and Maffa have potential. Good news, the Cowboys are big-time dogs opening up week 1. So some nice value on that front. I don't trust the backfield. I think there is the potential for more upside. It's different, too. It could be all new minus the fullback in Hunter Lipke. The potential of it is good enough. I think it's fine for now. But it's it's not critical condition, so to speak. Well, you have not been discharged yet from the hospital because they still need to monitor how things look for you. Jonas, George Pickens, over under 809.5 receiving yards. I would argue something bad probably happened if he didn't get to that figure. That's what he had last year. Now, he didn't have that many targets, frankly, in kind of a very conservative offense. So the target numbers probably don't change. The quality of targets should go up. Doesn't mean he does as much big play stuff, but that can be a little bit more fluky. But I like the over on that. I think it's probably a decent over-under because you factor in injury as a risk there. I'll take the over on that one. We'll have more Cowboys videos for you all off season long. Do not miss out. Instead, hit that sub button, youtube.com/@CowboysTV. Daniel, I think we need a DT in a corner before because the Eagles are going to do whatever they can to expose us. I don't want to get blown out by our rivals. I worry less about getting blown out by a rival, more is this team good enough? That's what I worry about. I do think you've named 2 good spots of concern. Defensive tackle and cornerback. I think that they need more. Especially early at corner. There is a very real scenario that week 1 it's Izzy in the slot, Bland at one corner, and maybe they don't want to risk Savone Rebel quite yet, or it's a 3rd-round rookie starting, or it's Kyer Elam and Kalen Carson, and someone's got a bad matchup or a good matchup for Philadelphia because Bland can't cover A.J. Brown at the same time. So that does worry me. Robert Simmons, is there any way we could re-sign Noah Igbinoghene from the Commanders when they cut him? I mean, you could if you wanted to, but I kind of think that Igbinoghene is going to stay with the Commanders. That was clearly a Dan Quinn guy. Like, that was Dan Quinn signed him. Dan Quinn played him. Dan Quinn brought him back. Like, I don't think he's going to get cut by Washington. I think he's going to stick around as, a potential starter for them. And the nickel, I should say. Tristan, DC for life. Cowboys signed Jadeveon Clowney. Question mark. I don't know why I act like there's going to be more words there. I don't think edge is a need for you. Now, if you get with a bunch of injuries, a Clowney, a Von Miller, etc., like those names we can revisit. But why would Clowney sign with a spot that's got 3 second-round picks, Dante Fowler on a 1-year deal, and Micah Parsons? Like he's going to look for more guaranteed playing time. Whether it's corner or DT, somewhere else altogether, name a player who you want to add. Let me know in the comments of today's video. Everett Bonds, is there a way to get rid of Mingo and get back something for him? I think he is useless. And that is why the answer is probably no. Like, in general, there are exceptions. You just did it with him. Teams don't want your trash. That's not really how it goes. He's not making very much for you. He's making $1.55 million on the cap this year. It's actually more expensive if you cut him than just to keep him. So I don't think he ends up getting shopped. I'd be pretty surprised by that one, but his contract this year is fully guaranteed, and less than half it's fully guaranteed next season. So I think he's going to stick around. Tyler, if Steele continues to not look like his old self, can you see a new line adjustment of Smith, Booker, Hoffman, Beebe, and Guyton going left to right? I would actually be extremely hesitant to change every single starting spot on my offensive line if one guy's not playing well. Like, in this scenario, and you're like, okay, we got to get a different right tackle in there. I will remind everyone, the Cowboys are higher on Steele than you are. I think they are excited about him bouncing back this year. But if it struggles, you could put Guyton over there. I would almost wonder if you're better off just putting in like Awesome Richards or a Johnny Cornelius, just like only changing one spot. If you want to put Guyton over there, his issues don't get fixed from going from left tackle to right tackle. I do want to emphasize that. In that case, I'm actually going to keep Beebe at center, Booker at right guard, and Hoffman can go play left guard. I think it's actually a negative to change your entire starting offensive line with one guy playing bad. I don't think you want that much change. Daniel, what about giving up a 5th for Jair Alexander? Green Bay maybe has interest. They're kind of in a weird spot with him. The Cowboys would have to pay a ton of money for him. Let me double check the exact math here. Like, he might get more available here. Because the Cowboys would owe, I'm just double checking my math here, $17.5 million. They're not going to pay that. If he gets cut, I think it makes some sense. Otherwise, I don't think it happens. Now, you can get in on the Micah Parsons decision pool with a $5 Venmo at Wacko and Downey for the 50-50 split the pot. Closest person to correctly predict what the date he signs, or I guess gets traded, wins the 50-50 split the pot. $10, I will text my wife your baby name submissions for kid number 2. $20 for a Bean Boozled, 50 for a beer ball. From Samuel, as Dak's mom's birthday is on the Eagles vs. Cowboys game, he's going to go crazy. I love the optimism. I hope so, because I don't feel good about Week 1 Cowboys defense going up against Week 1 Eagles offense. I expect to feel better about Week 13, but I don't feel as good about Week 1 because I think that defense is going to need some acclimation, period. So should we do the Madden Sims again this year? Y for yes, N for no. If we're playing around with some different ideas on how to look this year, might do some stuff where it's like it's just the Madden Sim that day as the live show. Maybe throw in a mailbag at the end too for content purposes and have some fun. Do some giveaways and see what chaos happens. So should we do the Madden Sims again this year? Y for yes, N for no. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Then we'll break down the Cowboys depth charts and kind of go group by group for 2025. Now, do you guys want a full Dallas Cowboys roster projection? If you do me a favor. Like today's show. Always want to make sure we're doing the videos that you guys care about. If you want it, like the video for me, please and thank you right now. Let's break down the Cowboys depth charts position by position. 3 QBs on the roster. Dak Prescott, Joe Milton, and Will Grier. Those will almost assuredly be the 3 guys they carry throughout the NFL regular season. Dak Prescott has to stay healthy. That is, none of the stuff we're going to talk about here really matters if he can't stay healthy. It kind of all falls apart quickly, and then it's like, well, is Will Grier really a guy you want to play, or is he like the vibes backup, where he'll help the starter quarterback get prepped and be the good locker room teammate guy and be the good sideline guy? That's a lot of what you're looking for. And then Joe Milton is your developmental young QB prospect who will play a ton in the preseason, which does make things kind of exciting. But 4 has to stay healthy, and that's a concern for me. The running back room looks very different. Javonte Williams in on a 1-year deal. Miles Sanders in on a 1-year deal. Jaden Blue, Phil Maffa, drafted. Deuce Vaughn, Hunter Lipke back, but not guaranteed roster spots. Lipke's the fullback, so maybe has the best chance sticking around, but nobody, I would argue, really outside of Jaden Blue is truly guaranteed a roster spot on this team. Everyone else is so cheap, they can easily get cut. Javonte Williams didn't play that great the last 2 years. He hasn't been the same since that knee injury. That should raise red flags. Can he be better in Dallas? The pass protecting, the third down value helps. Jaden Blue kind of cuts into that. Miles Sanders at one point looked super good. Maybe we can get the Miles Sanders revenge game touchdown against the Eagles in week 1. That'd be helpful there. He also wasn't as good in Carolina. My concern is he is a product of the environment around him too much. Is this the perfect environment? I'm actually not so sure. I wouldn't be shocked if Jaden Blue ends up emerging as the Cowboys' number 1 back. What that volume looks like, though, is a question mark to me. Like, does it look like 134 carries like it was at Texas? Can he handle a larger workload? All of those things are big question marks. And it's an area that I go, okay, monitor for upgrades, especially if, Javonte or Miles Sanders just don't look great early in camp, if they look like they have indeed lost a step. Who do you think ends up being the Cowboys' rushing leader at the end of the season? JW for Javonte Williams, MS for Miles Sanders, JB for Jaden Blue, O for other. Let me know at the pinned comment of today's show, especially if the ad comes here on YouTube. If we had done this 2 weeks ago, very different conversation on the wide receiver room. CeeDee Lamb is there as your number 1. We'll come back to the names here, but George Pickens is in place now as the 2. There is, I'll call it football character stuff. You have to make sure is dialed in, is locked in. He is in a contract year. But this went from I question if the Cowboys have enough playmakers on offense to, hey, Lamb and Pickens is probably like a top 10 receiver duo pretty easily. Still other question marks. You just mentioned the backfield, obviously. Jalen Tolbert as a 2, don't like that. As a 3, okay, it's good with me. Turpin's kind of a gadgety player, but it fits. They'll try to develop Mingo still. That leaves Flanoy and Brooks and Campbell and Cropper and, former UDFA, Kelvin Harmon and Josh Kelly and Trayshawn Holden fighting for 1, maybe 2 spots at wide receiver, plus obviously practice squad spots. Now, you can pre-order the George Pickens jersey today. Chatsports.com/Pickens. Link will be in the comments section and the description of today's show. It says 0 now. You can pre-order it, and Fanatics will ship you the actual number once that gets squared away. It's chatsports.com/Pickens. The tight end room didn't get any real changes here. Jake Ferguson back. Hopefully he's going to play better this upcoming season. Luke Schoonmaker is back. The Cowboys have history of a UDFA emerging as a guy that makes the roster. It was John Stevens, Spanford, it was Hendershot. Can Rivaldo Fairweather, Tyler Neville be that guy this year? The biggest thing you need is Jake Ferguson to look more like the 2023 version. He wasn't as good in 2024. Hurt early, didn't look as explosive, maybe gained a little bit too much weight to try to block better. He has to be like the 2023 version. I think that's where Pickens actually does help. Lamb does such great work over the middle. Jake Ferguson does such great work over the middle. Pickens can work on the outside. That should open things up a little bit. Offensive line, barring injury, these should be your starting 5 players. Tyler Guyton, who we'll talk about here more in depth at the end. Tyler Smith, Cooper Beebe, Tyler Booker, Terrence Steele. Those should be your 5. The backups are more up for grabs. Hoffman will be one of them. I think Austin Richards should be one of them. I think Robert Jones will be one of them. Ajani Cornelius, TJ Bass. That's also, though, Nathan Thomas. And they signed Akeem Adeniji, Sadiq Charles. And I wonder if the Cowboys brought in Adeniji and Charles, with no guaranteed money, by the way, to make preseason football competent, to give them a good environment up front to actually eval Joe Milton, so he's not running around for his life with some undrafted free agent offensive lineman from Western Oregon. That's why I think they brought those guys in. But I need better play from Tyler Guyton. Offensive line, in many ways, I think can be kind of a weak link unit, where if your worst guy is bad, the whole line looks kind of bad. All of Guyton's issues are correctable. It's not like he's an untalented player, but he has to be more technically sound. He can't dip his head into contact as much. It kind of, I think, also got worse almost as the year went along. I think he had lost some confidence too, but he has to be better. Otherwise, we're going to be sitting next offseason going, hey, is left tackle still a big-time question mark for you? I will have more free Cowboys videos for you each and every single day right here on the channel. Hit that sub button so you don't miss out. YouTube.com/@CowboysTV. The 3 technique, it's going to be Osa Odigizua, Solomon Thomas. Denzel Daxon is a practice squad player in the end. Tommy Akingbaswate is maybe emerges, but I think he's more of a practice squad guy. And that leaves nose guard question marks for me. Mozzie Smith is one. Jay Toia, Justin Rogers, 7th-round picks. I'm excited about Toia. Had a higher grade on him, but is he going to be an instant impact player as a DT in the 7th round? I don't know. You need Osa to be what you're paying him to be. The market value, it came in less than what he could have gotten on the open market. That doesn't really matter, though, once the season begins. At that point, I don't care much about contracts. I care about, hey, are you playing well enough? Can you do more for me? Osa, with the upfront talent within Eberflus's system, I need impact. Not just pressures. I need sacks and forced fumbles and TFLs, too. They're going to give Mozzie every chance again this year at nose guard. I am worried about this group as it sits right now. I thought Mozzie, especially against the run, was better last year. Better does not mean good enough. And to an even more extreme extent than Guyton, if Mozzie doesn't take a big-time step forward this season, you have to question if it's ever going to happen. So I want honest answers here. What is your confidence level right now in Mozzie Smith? Scale it from 1 to 10 in the comments of today's show. Defensive end depth chart then. Micah, Dante Fowler, Donovan Ezeraku, Marshawn Nealon, Sam Williams, Peyton Turner. There are your 6 guys. I think that's kind of easy. Those are your 6 guys on the roster. You signed Dante Fowler to a 1-year deal. Turner's on a 2-year deal. You spent second-rounders on Ezeraku, Nealon, Williams. Tyrus Sweet will make it to your practice squad if you want. Luigi Villain, Ernest Brown. Them boys going to play a lot in the preseason. They're going to play a lot because you're not going to play Micah and Fowler and probably not Nealon, and going to probably limit Ezeraku at least a little bit because he should play a key role for you. You need Micah to get paid too, and let's just get that out of the way. I think it'd be super cool if you got to training camp and he was already paid. And it wasn't an issue. And the Micah deal was done. And we didn't have to have the same conversation for another consecutive offseason. Is he going to get paid or not? I think that'd be super cool. The linebacker room. Overshown will not be good to go for week 1. So we're going to label him as hurt. So keep that in mind. But they added Kenneth Murray. They added Shamar James. They added Jack Sanborn. They bring back Maurice Leofau. They bring back Damone Clark. Darius Harris could be a special team. Those last 3 guys, Justin Barron, Darius Harris, Buddy Johnson, probably all going to fight and compete for the last linebacker spot as a mostly special teamer. And that, maybe they carry 6. Maybe it's only 5. Maybe one of them could usurp a Damone Clark. Jack Sanborn, Kenneth Murray, by the way. not guaranteed roster spots with the way their contracts are set up. Now, Overshown, I want him healthy. I think he's going to be good in the Evilfus defense, but that's another bad knee injury. I know he's mentally tough. He came back great before getting hurt again. There's going to be an asterisk until further notice on him, unfortunately. Let's go to cornerback. Week 16 should be pretty good. Bland and Diggs and Savone Revel should be good to go by then. And Kyer Elam. And we'll see what his status actually looks like. I don't really trust Kyer Elam too much in the end. Kalen Carson coming off of a not good season. Also should have mentioned Josh Butler is banged up. Won't be ready to go for week 1 necessarily either. So all of those things are like real concerns. And as it sits right now, I kind of think Israel Mukwamu just ends up being your day 1 nickel corner. And as weird as this actually sounds, I think that the best case scenario and the worst case scenario for you as the year plays out, it's actually DaRon Bland is playing nickel for you. Because the best case scenario is that Trayvon Diggs comes back and he's healthy. And he's good to go. And he's an instant starter on the outside. That's one of them. And Savone Revel is healthy. Plays the guy I think he can be. That I know many of the Cowboys think he can be. And it's okay, well, our 3 best corners are Revel, Diggs, and Bland. Bland's got to go play nickel. That's the best case. Worst case is, shoot, Izzy's terrible. We have no nickel. We have to play DaRon Bland there. That's kind of how it plays out, potentially. Of the 2 hurt guys, the 2 hurt starter guys, I should say, who returns first? TD for Trayvon Diggs, DO for DeMarvion Overshown. Let me know in the comments of today's show. 4 clear-cut roster players: Malik Hooker, Donovan Wilson, Marquise Bell, Wanye Thomas. Can one of Mike Smith or Elijah Clark or Zion Childress emerge as a 5th safety option who mainly helps on special teams? Maybe, but I think the clear-cut 4 are clear-cut. Clark, Childress, and Smith are going to play a ton in the preseason because those first 4 guys are not going to play really at all. Special teamers here: Brandon Aubrey, Brian Anger, Trent Sig, KaVontae Turpin handling both duties there. Other backups are like Deuce Vaughn. Can you try Jaden Blue there? Didn't do a lot of it in college, but worth a shot. Wanye Thomas, Deuce Vaughn, Paris Campbell, Jalen Cropper. It's kind of a weird grouping behind KaVontae Turpin. So those guys are kind of the main elements there. So who you got in the Week 1 NFL season? C for the Cowboys, E for the Eagles. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Who you got? This is the Week 1 matchup. Who you got? C for the Cowboys, E for the Eagles. Let me know in the comments section of today's video. Who you got on that one? C or E? It is 87% voting C for the Cowboys, which, again, I'm not overly surprised by. It's optimism season, right? Optimism season is back, and that's always a positive thing for the way things tend to play out there. So, by the way, who says Zion Childress is a safety? Kentucky played him at safety. Now they rolled him down a lot into kind of like that overhang role, but the vast majority of his snaps over the course of his college career came in a safety role. He was really not ever lined up on the outside. He played a decent amount of nickel corner last year, but that was, again, kind of more of an overhang role. A lot of his snaps still came in the box at like the strong safety role. So he has never really been an outside corner. He's like overhang where he's like doing some weird front stuff. But even going back to 2023, like the majority of his snaps, they came at free safety that season. And then slot, then box. So he was a safety at Kentucky. They just kind of rolled him down sometimes. RJ McGowan, a $2 super chat. We should still sign Cooper and have 3 good wide receivers. I think at this point, like, does Amari want to come here and be the 3rd or 4th option at best in the passing game? Probably not. That's like if there's an injury, you could revisit. But I'd say it's more likely that they just kind of roll it with Tolbert as that third option there. We will be back live again on Wednesday for an additional live show. Make sure you guys are subscribed and tuned in for that, so do not miss out. Once this live stream ends, by the way, we're going to redirect you to the Chat Sports live stream for the NBA Draft Lottery. That has not started yet, but if you want to tune in for the Draft Lottery, hit that reminder button. That's not live yet, won't be live for another hour and a half, somewhere in that ballpark, 2 hours. But you can go remind yourself to tune in on that front. So you can head over there, and we'll see you guys again on Thursday for a live show. Wednesday, we will have the schedule. History says before it's officially announced. So make sure you guys are subscribed and don't miss out. And yes, Ecuador man, Nick Roloff will be involved with that live stream for you.